Hello everyone, this is Dr. Hardik. Today I will going to take lecture on ischemic heart disease. Before going to start the lecture, first let us quick revise of our previous lecture that was atherosclerosis. So we had subdivided atherosclerosis in the topic of definition and introductions, epidemiology and incidence, risk factors means etiology, pathogenesis, in which there are various theories of atherosclerosis, morphology of atherosclerotic lesion, complications, and clinical effect and treatment. So in definitions, there are keywords which is I have already told you it is acquired condition, it is multifactorial, it is slowly ongoing process which involving the intima of large and medium-sized muscular and elastic arteries, in which there is a porridge-like atheroma formations, and at the same time there is a hardening of the vessels, means narrowing of the vessels, right? In epidemiology, it is worldwide, more common in US. Male gender is more affected as compared to female because of female have estrogenic property, and estrogenic property has effect of anti-atherosclerotic. In etiology, it is divided in three parts: modifiable risk factors, non-modifiable risk factors, and additional risk factors. These modifiable risk factors are the hypercholesterolemia, hypertension, cigarette smoking, diabetes. These all are the risk factors which leads to the injuries of the endothelium of the large or medium-sized muscular arteries. Now pathogenesis. In pathogenesis, after injury to the endothelial levels, because of these all risk factors, there are various theories of atherosclerosis. But the most important is response to injury, means after injury to the endothelial cells because of these modifiable, non-modifiable or additional risk factors, what happens? There is adhesion of the leukocytes, and these adhesion of the leukocytes mainly monocytes and T lymphocytes. These monocytes and T lymphocytes, because of this injury to the endothelium, enter into the intima. Here in intima, they release chemokines. Chemokines further aggravate the leukocytes adhesions. At the same time, platelet adhesions. Because of this injury to the endothelium, the LDL, which is in the lumen of the vessels, enter into the intima. And here in the intima, because of reactive oxygen metabolites or species, they are oxidized, converted into the oxidized LDL. And these oxidized LDL is engulfed by the macrophage. And this macrophage become foamy cells. At the same time, oxidized LDL has also property to migrate, aggravate the migration of the smooth muscle cells from the media to the intima. So the smooth muscle cell proliferate and migrate from the media. At the same time, there is a formation of extracellular matrix. So what happens after that? These smooth muscles also engulf the lipids, oxidized LDL, and they also become foamy. So in these atheroma formations, there are cells like macrophage and T lymphocytes and smooth muscle cells. Also extracellular matrix like proteosaminoglycans mainly. There is a lipid which is intracellular and extracellular. Intracellular mainly in the macrophage and in the smooth muscles. While extracellular lipid, because of these foam cells, may undergo apoptosis and release these oxidized LDL. So there is a core formations or lipid pool formation inside the atheroma. And because of these smooth muscles, they are forming a cap. So the cap is mainly made up of smooth muscle cells and extracellular matrix. So it's all about atheroma formation. It is dome-shaped lesions seen in the medium size of muscular and elastic arteries. Now morphology. Morphology, in which I have already discussed, is a fatty streaks and atherosclerotic plaques. And the structures of this atherosclerotic plaque already we had discussed. Complications because of this atherosclerosis, the major complications is ischemia, which involving the if coronary artery, then myocardial infarction, if cerebral arteries, then transient ischemic attacks, if peripheral arteries, then maybe a gangrene, if abdominal arteries, then colitis, and clinical effects and treatments and preventions. So atherosclerotic is divided in these subtopics. Now the concept of atherosclerosis has been cleared in your mind, and with this background, today we will discuss ischemic heart disease. So again, ischemic heart disease is remember under the following headings. First is definitions, clinical manifestations, epidemiology, etiopathogenesis, angina pectoris. Angina pectoris is again divided in three, which is discussed in later slides. Myocardial infarctions. Myocardial infarction is very important topic for your exam because it may be asked in your viva, it may be asked in your theory as a full questions. There are lots of MCQ questions and also short questions like cardiac markers, like morphology of myocardial infarction, etc. So again, myocardial infarction is subdivided in following headings: definition, epidemiology, etiopathogenesis. In etiopathogenesis, mechanism, sequence of events, types of infarct, morphological changes occur between 1 hour to 24 hours, 24 hours to 3 days, 3 days to 10 days, and weeks to months. What is the salvage in early infarcts? What is reperfusion injury? How will you diagnose a case of myocardial infarction? By clinically, by ECG changes, and by serum markers. So these are the headings in which you have to remember the ischemic heart disease. Again, I have repeat the subheadings: definitions, clinical manifestation, epidemiology, etiopathogenesis, angina pectoris, myocardial infarctions, in which subdivided in definition, epidemiology, etiopathogenesis. In etiopathogenesis, what is the mechanism of MI, which are the sequence happens in case of MI, which types of infarcts, which are the morphological changes that can occur between 1 hour to 24 hours, 24 hours to 3 days, 3 days to 10 days, or between weeks to months. What is the salvage in early infarct, reperfusion injury, how will you diagnose clinically, ECG, and by serum markers? So first, definition of IHD. Ischemic heart disease is generic designation as a result of an imbalance between the supply and demand of heart for oxygenated blood. Means because of atherosclerosis and some other reasons, there is a blockage of the coronary arteries, and because of this blockage there is a ischemia, and because of this ischemia there is an imbalance between supply and demand for the oxygenated blood. It compromises not only insufficiency of oxygen but also reduced availability of the nutrient. At the same time, there is inadequate removal of the metabolites. Because of ischemia, there is a lack of oxygen. There is a reduced availability of the nutrients, and the metabolites which is generated is also not removed, means inadequate removal of the metabolites. So it's all about definitions, and I have already told you in my previous lecture that more than 90% of cases of IHD, the reason behind is atherosclerosis. And this atherosclerosis involves the coronary artery. This ischemic heart disease is also known as coronary arterial disease. So it's all about definitions. Now, the clinical manifestation of IHD. The second point is clinical manifestations divided in four parts. The first is angina pectoris, in which there is ischemia is less severe. It is divided in three parts: stable angina, presmetal angina, and unstable angina. The second one is acute myocardial infarction itself, in which the duration and severity is sufficient to cause death of myocardial cell. Chronic ischemic heart disease with heart failure. And the fourth one is sudden cardiac death. So clinical manifestation divided in four parts: angina, acute MI, chronic heart failure, and sudden cardiac death. Now jump on to the epidemiology. But before we start the epidemiology, you must have to differentiate chest pain because of MI or ischemic pain. There are many types of chest pain. It may be because of gas, it may be because of acidity, it may be because of muscular pain, it may be because of ischemia. So as a doctor, we must have to differentiate it from other causes of chest pain. The chest pain because of ischemia is a very severe type of pain. It is stabbing type of pain. It is a knife-like pain. It is pain related particularly on the one point, and patient is continuously press these points. It radiates in the backside in scapulary region. It is also associated with vomiting. The patient having perspirations. In air conditioned room, patient having perspirations. At the same time, patient having anxiety. At the same time, patient having vomiting like nausea and vomiting. At the same time, patient having chest pain which is radiate backwards in the scapulary region. It is an alarming sign that patient having pain because of ischemia, and you must have to treat this patient within 30 minutes. If you not treat the patient within 30 minutes of the onset of pain, patient may die. So now you understand that how important this ischemic chest pain is to diagnose, right? Now epidemiology. Ischemic heart disease in its various forms is the leading cause of death for both in male and female. Nowadays reduce the incidence of IHD because of recent technical achievements in the diagnosis, preventions and treatments. Prevention is mainly achieved by the modifications of the determination of risk factors like smoking, hypercholesterolemia, hypertension and sedentary lifestyle. Again, the incidence is decreased because of diagnostic and therapeutic advances, more effective, earlier and safer treatments. There are coronary care units, thrombolytic therapy for the myocardial infarcted patients, the percutaneous transluminal coronary angioplasty, coronary arterial bypass surgery, control of diabetic mellitus in patients, control of arrhythmias. These are the factors because of which there is a reduced incidence of death in case of MI patients. The third point is etiopathogenesis. So till now we had discussed definitions, it, epidemiology, and now etiopathogenesis. Etiology of IHD under five headings. First is, and the most common and most important is coronary atherosclerosis. And again, coronary atherosclerosis, there are risk factors like modifiable, non-modifiable or constitutional and emergent risk factors that we had already discussed. The second most important point is because of this atherosclerosis in which there is acute plaque changes, like there is an injury to that plaques. After injury, there is a role of coronary thrombosis. And after that, because of platelet aggregations, there is a role of vasoconstriction. And some of the factors which or causes which are non-atherosclerotic. It is again the important role in the in ischemic heart disease. The first is embolism, which is originate anywhere in the body. The example is fat embolism because of fracture of bone. It may cause ischemia of coronary artery and patient having sudden death. Trauma due to penetrating injuries, aneurysms, extension of aneurysms of aorta, compressions because of primary and secondary tumor. So you have to remember the etiopathogenesis of IHD under 5 headings. Sequence in sequence. First is atherosclerosis. In atherosclerosis, there is a plaque changes. So role of plaque changes. In plaque changes, the most important is thrombosis. So role of coronary thrombosis. After thrombosis, there is a vasoconstriction. So role of vasoconstriction. And the fifth one is non-atherosclerotic causes like embolisms, trauma, aneurysm, and compressions because of tumor. The first one is coronary atherosclerosis. It is the major cause of IHD in 90% of patients, means more than 90 percentage. Progressive encroachment of lumen leading to stenosis, means fixed obstructions to acute disruption with thrombosis. Sudden obstruction causes acute ischemic attack or sudden death, while in case of dynamic, slowly developing obstruction may stimulate collateral circulation. So in some patients, you may lots of time hear that patient having one vessel block, two vessel block, three vessels block, still he has no any symptoms because of these collateral circulations, right? Distribution and locations. These you may have heard lots of time that patient having one vessel, two vessels, then three vessels, and these are the three vessels. The first one is lateral anterior descending branch of left coronary artery. It is a most commonly involved artery of coronary artery. The second one is left circumflex branch of coronary artery. The third is anterior descending branch of right coronary artery. So these are the three branches which is most commonly involved in descending order in case of ischemic heart disease. So the single vessel or two or three vessels are involved in ischemic heart disease. And left heart is more involved due to atherosclerosis are more common and severe in left side rather than right coronary artery. So it's all about distribution and location of the atherosclerotic plaques in case of myocardial infarction. This figure is very important to understand what happens in myocardial ischemia. See, first what happens in any of the branches which have I already told you that three branches in which there is a plaque formations because of atherosclerosis. It may goes progressive and gradual narrowing of the lumen. So here you can see the gradual narrowing of the lumen. And at the same time patient having collateral circulation development. So what happens? Chronic ischemia. Angina of effort is typical symptoms, means if exertion or physical exercise patient having chest pain and may lead to myocardial fibrosis and cardiac failure. It is a one way of pathogenesis, that gradual narrowing of the lumen, means no obstructions, no complete obstructions, but gradual narrowing of the lumen. But If this gradual narrowing involve all the three arteries, may lead to myocardial infarction. If one vessels, two vessels, then patient having chronic ischemia, patient having myocardial fibrosis and cardiac failure. But if gradual occlusion of all the arteries may lead to myocardial infarction. Again, another way, if these plaques may rupture or acute plaque changes in form of fissuring or ulcerations, there is a thrombus formation, primary hemostatic plaque formations, and may lead to complete blockage of these vessels and may lead to acute ischemia and again myocardial infarction. And because of these myocardial infarctions, patient may have having arrhythmias, it may be a silent, it may be a sudden death, or it may be a cardiac failure. So now with this slide you can understand very well that after formation of atherosclerotic plaques, gradual narrowing of the lumen, if gradual narrowing of the lumen, chronic ischemia, myocardial fibrosis, cardiac disease, and but if this gradual narrowing involve all the arteries, which leads to myocardial infarction. And again myocardial infarctions can happen due to acute plaque changes in these atherosclerotic plaques. And because of this acute plaque changes, there is a thrombosis and complete blockage of these vessels or a branch of coronary arteries and may lead to acute ischemia and myocardial infarction. And myocardial infarction manifested as arrhythmias, may be a silent, may be a cardiac failure, or may be a sudden death of patient. Now the third etiopathogenesis, that is role of acute plaque changes. All most complications are precipitate as a result of plaque changes followed by thrombosis because of continuous mechanical injury of the blood flow to that atherosclerotic plaques and may produce injury. Because of this subendothelial injury, there is an exposure of the subendothelial tissue, and because of this subendothelial tissue has highly thrombogenic property, and because of this thrombosis, rupture, fissuring, erosion, ulceration at the subendothelial level. Because of these acute plaque changes also may hemorrhage in atheroma. Plaque disruption leads to platelet aggregations and thrombogenesis are a common repetitive and silent complication of atheroma. Again, yes, because of this hemostatic plaque formation, primary mainly, platelet adhesion, and these platelet may release granules, and these granules content may lead to further vasoconstriction and vasospasm and patient having stable angina. So it's about role of plaque changes. Here you can see in the microscopic image of thrombosis. Here you can see the vessels. Here you can see the atherosclerotic plaques, dome shape. Here you can see cholesterol crystals or cleft, you can say. Here you can see fibrotic cap, and here because of these acute plaque changes, there is an injury to the subendothelial level and exposure of subendothelial tissue. There is a formation of thrombus, primary hemostatic plaque, and there is a complete blockage of lumen. Only a rim behind, you can see very well this rim, only behind the rim. So complete blockage of vessel lumen by the thrombus. So coronary artery disease, patient may be asymptomatic, patient may be anginic pain or angina which is either stable, variant or unstable, patient having myocardial infarctions, patient having chronic ischemic heart disease, or patient having sudden cardiac death. So coronary artery disease ranges from asymptomatic state to the sudden cardiac death. Now go further in the etiopathogenesis, there is a role of coronary thrombus. Previous only partially stenotic plaques gradually becomes large in size and converted to the total occlusion, leads to sudden death. These mural thrombus in coronary artery lead to micro or macroemboli formations and produce micro or macro infarct of myocardium, and which leads to unstable angina or sudden death. So we had already discussed that what happens in the thrombus formations. After thrombus formations may be a greater chances of emboli formation, and these emboli may be a micro or macro or may leads to infarct of the myocardium and patient having sudden cardiac death because of unstable angina. Then there is a role of vasoconstriction. In vasoconstriction, what happens? The lumen of the vessels is stimulated by circulating androgenic agonist. Because of this thrombus formation of the narrowing of the lumen, there is a androgenic surge, and this and because of this androgenic effect, there is a vasoconstriction to increase the blood pressure. Locally release platelet contents again leads to vasoconstrictions, impaired secretion of constriction releasing factors, and mediator release from the perivascular inflammatory cells, which leads to anginal attack, means stable or variant angina. So here there is a role of vasoconstriction because of there is a release of the platelet granules content. Now the clinical manifestation, the first is angina pectoris. So till now we had discussed etiopathogenesis. The first is definitions, the second one is clinical manifestation, angina pectoris, acute myocardial infarctions, chronic heart failure, sudden cardiac death, epidemiology, etiopathogenesis, mainly a five subheadings, coronary atherosclerosis, role of acute plaque changes, role of coronary thrombus formations, role of vasoconstriction, and non-atherosclerotic plaques. Now come on to the clinical manifestation in detail. The first is angina pectoris. So what is angina? It is a symptoms complex of IHD, means it is a symptoms of IHD characterized by paroxysmal. What do you mean by paroxysmal? Sudden outburst, means sudden and recurrent attacks of substernal or precordial discomfort. Means I have already told you that it is a squeezing type, constriction type, hooking type, or knife like pain in precordial or substernal region. It is paroxysmal, means sudden. It is recurrent, means recurrent attacks of pain as a result of transient, means 15 seconds to 15 minutes, myocardial ischemia or necrosis. Means if ischemia persists to the 15 minutes, it may be a reversible, but after 15 minutes it may converted into the irreversible cell death of the myocardial cells. Three overlapping patterns of angina. First is stable, second is variant, means prismatal, and the third one is unstable or crescendo. Now we discuss the types of angina one by one. The first one is stable or typical angina pectoris. It is the most common form as a result of reduction of coronary perfusion to a critical level by chronic stenosis of the coronary arteries. Means there is no complete blockage, only a mild obstructions of one or two coronary arteries. It is characterized by attack of pain following physical exertion or emotional excitement and relieved by the rest. So it is a characteristic type of pain in stable type of angina, that patient having pain followed by physical exertion or emotional disturbance, and it is relieved by rest. Local vasospasm may contribute to the imbalance between supply and demand. The major mechanisms in the stable angina is local vasospasm. Here, if you take ECG, then there is a finding of depression of ST segments because of poor perfusion of the subendocardial region of left side of the heart, but no elevation of the cardiac enzymes in the blood. So characteristic keywords of stable angina, that it is most common form of anginic pain, pain followed by physical exercise or emotional disturbance, relieved by rest. If you take ECG, then depression of the ST segments, and in blood there is no elevation of the cardiac enzymes. Second types of angina, it is presmetal angina or variant angina. It is an uncommon pattern of episodic angina as a result of sudden vasospasm of the coronary artery. It is characterized by attack of pain occur at rest. Here it is occur at rest. Not in stable type of angina, it is only occur after physical exercise. But here in variant angina, it may occur at rest also. And here there is a elevation of the ST segment. In stable angina, there is a depression of the ST segment, but here you can see elevated ST segment in ECG finding. The angina attacks are unrelated to the physical activity, heart rate or blood pressure. It is a characteristic of variant angina. It is generally responds promptly to the vasodilators such as nitroglycerin and calcium channel blocker. So if we give the patient this vasodilator, patient will be absolutely fine. Here again there is no elevation of the cardiac enzymes. It is also in stable angina, there is no elevation of the cardiac enzymes. Now the third type of angina, that is unstable or crescendo angina. It is referred to as acute insufficiency and most serious pattern of angina. The pain is precipitated with progressively less effort, often occur at rest with prolonged duration. Means here you can here also pain at rest, and again it is a prolonged in duration. It is induced by disruption of atherosclerotic plaques which superimposed by thrombus and embolus. So it is a preceding stage of myocardial infarctions. If patient having unstable angina, then it is the starting point of myocardial ischemia. The ischemia that occurs in unstable angina to induce clinically detectable infarctions. Here in unstable angina lies intermediate between stable angina on one hand and MI on other hand. And here if you take a blood and if you do a marker, then there is an elevation of the cardiac enzymes. So you can differentiate stable angina and presmental angina with the help of this blood test. In here you can see there is an elevation of the cardiac markers. In this table you can see there is a lesions in coronary artery in various form of IHD. It is very important image. In stable angina, what happens? Critical coronary narrowing means in stable angina only patient having partial narrowing, and that is the reason why patient having pain only after physical exercise and emotional disturbance because of vasospasm in these partially narrowing vessels. So second point is chronic ischemic heart disease means chronic progressive coronary atherosclerosis. So this image you can categorize in stable angina and chronic ischemic heart disease. If patient having unstable angina, in unstable angina either may have plaque rupture or hemorrhage or mural thrombosis with thromboembolisms. So here you can see what happened in unstable angina. In stable angina, if progressive narrowing of the lumen and at the same time there is acute plaque changes, patient having unstable angina and it is a starting point of myocardial infarction. And after that myocardial infarctions in which there is a plaque hemorrhage, fissuring, ulceration and complete blockage of the vessel lumen. Right? And the fifth one is sudden ischemic death. In sudden ischemic death, severe multivessel disease, acute changes in plaque, thrombosis and thromboembolism. So you can compare these types of IHD with morphology. Here you can see normal vessels, normal endothelium, normal lumen size. If there is a progressive encroachment because of atherosclerotic plaques, patient having either stable angina or maybe a chronic ischemic heart disease. If this continuous gradual narrowing of the lumen continues and at the same time there is a acute plaque changes and patient having hemorrhage or thrombus formations, patient having clinically unstable angina and patient having myocardial infarction. And if it continues and complete blockage, may patient may have sudden cardiac death or ischemic death. So I think the concept of the types of ischemic heart disease, stable angina, IHD, unstable angina, myocardial infarction, sudden cardiac death has been cleared in your mind after comparing it with the morphology. Now the acute myocardial infarctions, but acute myocardial infarctions we will see in the next lecture. So in today's lecture we had quick revise of the atherosclerosis and ischemic heart disease. In ischemic heart disease, till now we had discussed definitions, clinical manifestations. There are four types of manifestation: angina pectoris, ischemic heart disease, sudden cardiac death, and chronic ischemic heart disease. Epidemiology, etiopathogenesis under 5 heading. Angina pectoris, there is three types of angina: stable, unstable, and presmetal angina. We discuss in detail. And now myocardial infarctions. We will discuss myocardial infarctions in the next lecture. Please, I request to read myocardial infarction so it will helpful to understand the concept of myocardial infarction in detail. Thank you. Thank you very much. See you in next lecture.